Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, you're about to uncover the incredible story of a small coin with a big legacy. The 1943 United States of America 5-cent coin. At first glance, it might look like just another old nickel, but if you've got the right one in your hands, it could be worth an absolutely staggering amount of money. So sit tight, stay curious, and let's explore the secret world behind one of America's most intriguing coins. By the end of this video, you might find yourself diving into your coin jar or double-checking that old change from Grandpa's drawer. You'll want to listen to this all the way through, because we're saving the most exciting part for the very end, when we reveal just how much this little coin can be worth. And trust me, it's shocking. Let's start by going back in time. The year was 1943, right in the thick of World War II. America was deeply involved in the global conflict, and the war effort was changing nearly every part of life, including the coins in people's pockets. Nickel, one of the key metals used to produce 5-cent coins, was suddenly needed for military purposes. It was essential for making armor, tanks, and other wartime machinery. So what did the U.S. Mint do? They got creative. To save nickel for the war, the Mint introduced a new version of the 5-cent coin, one made from an unusual alloy of 56% copper, 35% silver, and 9% manganese. That's right, silver. For a few years during World War II, your everyday nickel was actually a silver coin. This special wartime composition gives the 1943 nickel a bright, distinctive appearance. But it's not just the metal that makes it special, it's also the story behind it. This coin represents a nation pulling together, sacrificing resources, and innovating in the face of a global crisis. It's history you can hold in your hand. Now, let's talk design. On the front of the coin, we see a familiar face, Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, looking left with quiet strength. Flip it over, and there's Monticello, his famous Virginia estate, elegantly detailed. But pay close attention above Monticello. In the 1943 version, you'll find a large mint mark above the building, either a P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. This was the first time in U.S. history that the Philadelphia Mint used a P mint mark on any coin. That alone makes this coin a historic milestone. But there's more. As any collector knows, when it comes to coins, it's not just age or composition that drives value. It's rarity and errors. And the 1943 nickel has both. Let's start with one of the most exciting aspects, minting errors. These are the accidental quirks and imperfections that slip through the cracks of quality control and end up creating something far more valuable than the average coin. One of the most famous errors on the 1943 nickel is the double die error. This occurs when the coin is struck twice by the die, but slightly misaligned. This results in a doubled appearance of some letters or design elements, most commonly seen in the word Monticello, United States of America, or even Jefferson's eye and nose. Collectors go wild for these errors, especially when they're bold and easy to see without magnification. The more dramatic the doubling, the higher the value. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin design is misaligned and shifted toward one side. The greater the off-center effect, especially if the date remains fully visible, the more desirable the coin becomes. And we can't forget about wrong planchet errors, where the 1943 nickel is mistakenly struck on a metal blank mint for another coin. Imagine a nickel-sized coin with a silver composition and part of another design showing. That's a true rarity. There are also lamination errors, where the coin's surface peels or cracks due to impurities in the metal. While not as flashy as a double die or off-center strike, a lamination flaw on a worn nickel can still catch the attention of experienced collectors. But all of these errors only reach their full potential in excellent condition. A coin that has never been circulated, or one kept in pristine shape for decades, will always fetch far more at auction. Coins that are graded by professionals at companies like PCGS or NGC and come back with high marks, especially MS66 or above, are worth serious money. Now here's what makes this story even more exciting. Out of all the millions of 1943 nickels minted across the country, only a tiny fraction contain these rare errors. And even fewer have survived the decades in mint state condition. That's why when one of these elusive gems shows up at auction, collectors from around the world compete for a chance to own it. So, how much could one of these remarkable 1943 nickels be worth today? Are you ready for it? Because one of these rare 5-cent coins, featuring a dramatic mint error and preserved in stunning, mint state condition, was sold to a very lucky collector for an unbelievable $84,000. That's right, $84,000. For a 5-cent piece. This is why coin collecting is more than just a hobby. It's history, art, and a treasure hunt all rolled into one. So next time you come across an old coin, don't overlook it. Check the date, examine the details, and who knows? You just might be holding a 5-cent fortune. Top 2, we're taking a close look at a coin you might have seen 100 times before, but never truly looked at. It's the 1964 Jefferson nickel. Yes, that simple 5-cent piece that's probably sitting somewhere in your change jar right now. But here's the twist. One version of this coin has fetched an absolutely mind-blowing price at auction. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to tell you exactly how much that one rare nickel is worth. So don't go anywhere, because if you're a collector, a history fan, or just curious about rare money, this is a story you need to hear. Let's begin with the basics. The 1964 Jefferson nickel was minted in enormous numbers. More than 2.8 billion of them were struck that year. That's right, billion with a B. Why so many? Because in the early 1960s, the U.S. was experiencing a coin shortage, and the mint was doing everything it could to keep up with demand. The public was hoarding coins, especially silver coins, and the mint went into overdrive to produce change for the economy. Now, despite this mass production, the 1964 nickel stands out for a few reasons. First, it was the last year that Jefferson nickels featured the mint date without a changing yearly design. After 1964, nickels with the same date continued to be struck into 1965 due to legislation that froze coin dating to discourage hoarding. Now let's talk about the design. The front of the coin features Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, in a left-facing profile. His expression is calm, thoughtful, almost timeless. On the reverse, you'll see his home, Monticello, with the word Monticello elegantly curved beneath it. That you'll also notice a mint mark if the coin was made in Denver, represented by a small d, to the right of Monticello. No mint mark? That means it was minted in Philadelphia. But here's the thing. Both versions of the 1964 nickel can hold serious value if you know what to look for. Let's get into what really makes certain 1964 nickels so incredibly valuable, and that's the errors and varieties. These are the coins that weren't struck perfectly. They slipped through the cracks at the mint, and now collectors across the world are hunting for them. One of the most sought-after varieties is the full steps Jefferson nickel. What does that mean? Look closely at the Monticello building on the reverse. Right at the base, there are a series of steps leading up to the door. Most nickels show worn or incomplete steps due to weak striking. But when a coin is struck with enough precision that all 5 or 6 steps appear clearly and unbroken, it's considered a full steps example, and that dramatically increases its value, especially in mint state. But the real treasure lies in the rare minting errors. There are known examples of double die obverse errors, where the coin was struck more than once by the same die, leading to a doubling effect on the lettering or even on Jefferson's profile. Look carefully at the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." If you see a shadow-like doubling, you might be holding something extremely rare. Then there's the off-center strike, a dramatic error where the coin design is misaligned, leaving part of the coin blank. The more off-center the strike, and the more of the date still visible, the more valuable it becomes. There are also die cracks, clipped planchets, and even wrong planchet strikes, where a nickel was accidentally struck on a blank mint for a different coin entirely. These mistakes are rare, and when discovered in high-grade condition, they're considered trophies in the collecting world. And here's a crucial point. Condition matters. A 1964 nickel that's been in circulation for years, scratched up and worn down, may not be worth more than face value. But a coin that's been kept in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one with a rare error or full steps, can be worth a small fortune. That's why collectors go to great lengths to preserve coins. Many are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, which assign a numeric value to the coin's condition. Coins that come back graded MS66, MS67, or higher with full steps. Those are the coins that can change lives. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. One very special 1964 Jefferson nickel, with a rare minting error and in nearly flawless condition, was sold at a major auction to a serious collector for an eye-popping total of $81,000. That's right. A nickel, 5 cents. Sold for $81,000, it's incredible to think that a coin millions of people ignored could turn out to be so valuable. That's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's part detective work, part history, and part treasure hunt. So before you dismiss that old nickel in your drawer, take a closer look. Check the steps. Examine the lettering. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, or anything out of the ordinary. Because you never know, your next big find might just be hiding in plain sight. Top 3 were shining a spotlight on a humble coin that many people overlook. The 1975 United States of America 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. Now before you think, it's just a nickel, let me stop you right there. Because one rare version of this 1975 coin has shocked the coin collecting world by reaching an astonishing value. And in just a few moments, I'll tell you exactly how much one of these little coins sold for. And trust me, it's a number that will make your jaw drop. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The year was 1975. America was going through a time of great change. The Vietnam War was nearing its end, inflation was rising, and the U.S. Mint was producing millions of coins to keep up with the economic demands of the time. The Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation since 1938, and by 1975, its design was well known to the public. On the obverse, or front, of the coin, we see the iconic left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States. His stoic profile had become a symbol of American strength, wisdom, and independence. The reverse side of the coin displays Jefferson's historic home, Monticello, with elegant architecture that adds character to this simple piece of currency. Now here's where things get really interesting. The 1975 Jefferson nickel was minted in 2 locations: Philadelphia, which had no mint mark at the time, and Denver, which placed a small D to the right of Monticello on the reverse. These nickels were made primarily from a copper-nickel blend and were meant to be everyday coins, used in grocery stores, vending machines, and the corners of every couch cushion in America. But not all 1975 nickels were created equal. See, with mass production comes occasional mistakes. And in the world of numismatics, coin collecting, minting errors are like buried treasure. They're rare, accidental, and when found in excellent condition, they can be worth far more than their face value. So what kinds of errors should you be looking for on a 1975 nickel? Let's start with one of the most exciting errors, the double die. This occurs when the coin's design is struck twice by the same die, but slightly misaligned. If you examine the lettering, especially "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date, 1975, you might notice a slight shadow or doubling. That doubling effect? It's a collector's dream. The more pronounced and visible the doubling, the more valuable the coin. Another rare and valuable error is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be shifted to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. A 1975 nickel with a 10% to 50% off-center strike, especially with the date still visible, can be extremely desirable among collectors. We also have clipped planchets, which occur when the metal sheet that coins are punched from overlaps or misfeeds. The result? A coin with a curved, crescent-shaped cut on one edge. Combine that with an intact date and mint mark, and you're holding a very special piece. Even more elusive are wrong planchet errors, where a Jefferson nickel is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a penny or a dime. These are very rare, but when discovered, they're instantly valuable. Now let's talk about condition. This is one of the biggest factors that determines a coin's worth. Most nickels from 1975 were used for decades, passed from hand to hand, scraped against keys, and dropped on pavement. But if you have a coin that's been preserved in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially one with full steps visible on Monticello, it could be extremely valuable. What are full steps, you ask? Right below Monticello's columns on the reverse of the coin are a series of steps. In most nickels, these are weakly struck and worn over time. But in a sharply struck coin, the steps appear crisp, clear, and complete. A 1975 nickel with full steps, and a rare error, can catch the attention of even the most seasoned collector. Now, you might be wondering, with so many nickels out there, how do you know if you've got a valuable one? Here's a quick checklist. Does your coin show doubling in the lettering or numbers? Is the strike off-center or missing part of the design? Is there a visible clip or curved edge on the coin? Do the steps on Monticello appear perfectly formed and complete? And most importantly, is the coin in near-perfect condition? If you answered yes to any of these, you might want to have that nickel graded and authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because the right combination of rarity, error, and preservation can turn an ordinary-looking nickel into something truly extraordinary. And now, for the moment you've been waiting, 4.1 exceptionally rare 1975 Jefferson nickel, with a dramatic mint error and preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, was sold to a passionate collector for an unbelievable total of $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin, sold for $78,000. That's the magic of numismatics. Hidden value, historical intrigue, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary in the most unexpected places. So before you toss that old change aside, take a second look. That unassuming little nickel might just be your ticket to the world of high-end collecting, or even a small fortune. Top for we're diving into a modern coin you might easily overlook. But if you happen to spot the right one, it could be hiding an incredible secret. We're talking about the 2000 United States of America 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. Yes, a coin minted in the year 2000, a year that doesn't feel that far behind us. But wait until you hear what makes some of these coins so rare and valuable. In fact, one very special example of this nickel shocked collectors when it sold for a fortune. And in just a few minutes, I'll tell you exactly how much that coin was worth. You won't believe it. Let's rewind for a moment. The year 2000 marked the beginning of a new millennium. The world was changing rapidly, technology was advancing, the internet was exploding, and the U.S. Mint was keeping pace by producing coins with high precision and modern designs. The Jefferson nickel, which had been a staple in American currency since 1938, was still in production and looked just as familiar as ever. On the front of the coin, we see the left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, primary author of the Declaration of Independence, and an icon of American history. His calm expression, detailed hair, and dignified posture are all present in this classic design by Felix Schlag. On the reverse, we find Jefferson's legendary home, Monticello, beautifully engraved with the name boldly displayed below it. Above Monticello, you'll spot the words E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one, a phrase that carries the spirit of unity across all American currency. Now, the 2000 Jefferson nickel was minted in Philadelphia and Denver. You'll find a P or D mint mark on the right side of Monticello. Both locations produced millions of nickels that year. Philadelphia made over 940 million, and Denver produced more than 875 million. That's a lot of nickels. So, how could one possibly be worth more than a brand new car, or even a house? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and error. You see, when billions of coins are minted, errors are bound to happen. Most are caught and melted down. But every now and then, a mistake slips through the cracks and lands in someone's change. And that's where the magic begins. Point one of the most sought-after errors in the 2000 Jefferson nickel is the double die. This is when the coin is struck twice by the die, but not perfectly aligned. The result? A doubling effect that's most visible in the lettering. Look closely at In God We Trust, Liberty, or the year 2000. If you see any ghost-like shadowing or overlap in the letters or numbers, you may be holding something very special. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. When the coin blank isn't properly aligned in the press, the entire design can shift to one side, leaving part of the coin blank. If the date and mint mark are still visible and the off-center strike is dramatic, that coin becomes a rare collector's item. Then there are die cracks and cuds, which are raised, irregular bumps or lines on the coin caused by broken or damaged dies. These are unique and can make each coin one of a kind. Add in a strong strike and high-grade condition, and you've got a winner. But perhaps the rarest of all are the wrong planchet errors. This happens when a Jefferson nickel is accidentally struck on a blank mint for another coin, like a penny or even a foreign coin. The weight, size, or color might be off, and that's a major red flag for collectors. These mistakes are incredibly scarce and valuable. Now let's talk about something that experienced collectors obsess over. Full steps that on the back of every Jefferson nickel is Monticello, and at its base are steps leading up to the entrance. Most nickels don't show these steps clearly. Weak strikes or circulation tend to wear them down. But if your coin shows all 5 or 6 steps crisply, without interruption, it's called a full steps nickel. These are significantly more valuable, especially in uncirculated condition. Speaking of condition, this is everything in the coin world. A worn nickel from 2000 might be worth 5 cents or a little more. But if that same coin was never circulated, kept in mint condition, and has a dramatic error or full steps designation, it could be worth thousands. And that brings us to the big reveal.so. How much can the right 2000 Jefferson nickel be worth? Well, one rare example, featuring a remarkable minting error, preserved in flawless mint state condition with full steps, was auctioned to an eager collector for a jaw-dropping total of $73,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A 5-cent coin from the year 2000 sold for $73,000. This is why coin collecting continues to captivate people of all ages. Because history isn't just found in museums. It can be sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. A simple nickel, with the right mix of flaw and perfection, can tell a story, spark curiosity, and in rare cases, change someone's life. So before you spend that nickel or toss it into the tip jar, take a closer look. Because what looks ordinary on the surface might just be an extraordinary treasure. Top 5, we're taking a closer look at a modern coin that most people wouldn't even glance at twice. But maybe they should. Because the 2004 United States of America 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel, has a fascinating story and, in some rare cases, a shocking value. Yes, you heard that right. One special version of this coin, tucked away in someone's pocket change, eventually sold for an eye-popping amount of money. And I'll be revealing that number, written out in words, at the very end of this video. So make sure you stick around until the last moment. You won't want to miss it. Let's set the scene. The year was 2004, a time when the United States Mint made a bold and historic decision. That year, they launched the Westward Journey Nickel Series, commemorating the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition and the expansion of America's western frontier. After more than 65 years of the same design, the classic Jefferson nickel got a dramatic makeover. 2 different reverse designs were released that year. The first was the piece metal nickel, featuring a handshake between a Native American and a U.S. soldier. The second was the keelboat nickel, depicting the boat used by the Lewis and Clark expedition as they journeyed up the Missouri River. Both designs were groundbreaking at the time and added a breath of fresh air to American coinage. Now here's where things get exciting for collectors. Because with new designs, high production runs, and multiple minting facilities, 2004 became a hotbed for minting errors, misstrikes, and unique varieties. And that's where the treasure hunt begins. Let's talk about the types of valuable errors that collectors are looking for on the 2004 nickel. First up, we have the double die error. This happens when a coin is struck twice with a slight shift, causing letters and numbers to appear doubled. The most common areas to spot this on a 2004 nickel are in the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or even in the date itself. The doubling might be subtle or dramatic, but when it's obvious to the naked eye, that coin becomes instantly desirable. Another rare and exciting error is the off-center strike. This is when the coin design isn't aligned properly during minting, leaving part of the image missing or shifted to one side. The more off-center the strike, especially if the date is still fully visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there are clipped planchet errors, which happen when the metal strip used to punch out coin blanks overlaps during the cutting process. This results in a crescent-shaped clip on the coin's edge. It's a mistake that transforms a common coin into something collectors actively hunt for. One of the most dramatic and prized errors is the wrong planchet strike. When a nickel is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. This results in a coin that looks bizarre in size, weight, or color, and is extremely rare. Now, let's not forget about die cracks, cuds, and lamination errors. These are signs that the metal stamp used to press the coin, was damaged or breaking during production. Cracks can appear as raised lines across the coin, while cuds show up as blobs or lumps of metal. These imperfections, while technically mistakes, are like signatures of a unique event in the minting process, making the coin more collectible. But there's more. Because 2004 was a transition year with new designs and multiple mint marks, Philadelphia, P, and Denver, D. Collectors also pay close attention to where the coin was minted and how well it was struck. Coins with the full steps designation on Monticello, if it's a regular Jefferson reverse, not a commemorative, are worth more because they show a full, clear set of steps at the base of the building. An indicator of a high-quality strike. So how do you know if your 2004 nickel might be rare or valuable? Here's what to look for. Unusual doubling in the text or numbers. Obvious off-center designs. Blanks or clips on the edge of the coin. Any cracks, lumps, or signs of irregular striking. Odd color. Shape or weight that might suggest a wrong planchet. Sharp, unbroken full steps if it's the standard Jefferson reverse. And of course, mint condition. The better preserved the coin, the higher its value. Now, most 2004 nickels in circulation are worth 5 cents. Some might be worth a few dollars. But the rare ones, the ones with dramatic errors and pristine condition, can be worth a small fortune. Which brings us to the moment you've all been waiting for, a single 2004 Jefferson nickel, featuring a striking mint error, preserved in near-flawless condition and authenticated by a professional grading service, was sold to an excited collector for the unbelievable sum of $70,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin, sold for $70,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. Something ordinary becomes extraordinary. A piece of history, with the right combination of rarity, error, and preservation, becomes a collector's dream and a financial jackpot. So before you spend that nickel, pause. Look closer. Because that little coin in your hand might not be so little after all. If you enjoyed this story and want more videos about rare and valuable coins hiding in everyday places, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell notification. We've got many more coin discoveries coming your way, and who knows, your next find could be the one we talk about next. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting!